everybody, I'm Lance. Thanks for tuning into Higher Living. So today I want to talk about something that I work on every day, that I strive to be a better listener to all people in my lives. There's a lot of reasons that we fail as listeners. A lot of distractions we have in our current day and age with technology and so many other things going on. But I think it's very critical to be able to learn and be aware and focus and strive to be a better listener, because it's in good listening that results in improved communication overall. And that's what we're all doing, constantly communicating with one another. But these are some of the things that I try to work on that have helped me become a better listener. Number one is look someone in the eyes. Especially don't be on your phone. Nothing says fuck you, I don't care what you're talking about, more than talking to someone who's staring at their phone. If you're in a conversation with someone and they're sharing something with you, have the courtesy to not look at your phone. Whatever is buzzing or vibrating or alerting you can wait a couple minutes. Be present, be fully present, and look them in the eyes. And I try to do this too, out and about with people, even if you're like checking out with people. I mean, that's communication too. While you may not be in like a big full-on listening mode, like a friend sharing a problem, but still, like, to be fully present, make time to be on your phone. Your phone is fine, but when you're talking with someone else, especially in their presence, don't be on it, and look them in the eye. That shows that you care about them, that you're truly listening to what they say, and that their opinion and what they're sharing with you is important to you. Number two, listen to hear them, not to reply. Well, this is a big one, especially in our day and age, and I've been horrible about this one. I'll just go ahead and say it. This is a daily struggle that I try to maintain and to be more present, and that is really essentially removing your ego from that listener. Because a lot of times we're waiting for the person to hurt. Maybe some people, and I'm one of them, I'll go ahead and raise my hand. When I'm sharing my feelings, I can be long-winded. Oops. But I appreciate more than anything when someone hears me out. And, like, a lot of times if someone's long-winded or whatever, it's our ego. We already know what we're going to say. And when you start focusing on your reply while someone else is talking, you're not even listening. And that's your ego trying to, stamp its whatever point of view. That's not what listening about. Listening is to truly listen to the other person's point of view and to be fully present and hear them. Listen to them to see what they have to say. Don't listen to have a reply ready. And for sure, don't be thinking what you're going to say while that person's still talking. And, the more that we listen, the more that we truly learn. And, a lot of us are closed-minded and stuck in our opinions on things, but we have to be more open. But by learning to listen for the sake of listening, as opposed to listening to reply, that's a huge one. Another, put yourself in that person's shoes fully. It's hard for us to really do that, and it takes effort. It's not a big deal, and we can't really put ourselves fully in that person's life. But if someone's explaining a situation or problem that may not be anything that you ever have gone through, try to be empathetic, try to be compassionate, and truly listen and imagine what that might be like for you. The more that we put ourselves in other people's shoes, the better understanding that we're going to have of their situation, and are going to be able to help them more. Let's see. And if you've heard someone say something before, allow them to say it. Sometimes if there's conversations and maybe someone's talked about something, even in the same conversation, if they're bringing up something more than once, it's probably because it's fairly important to them. So, even if you've heard something before, that's a natural thing this day and age. You want to cut someone off and be, you've already told me that. No. Listen, if they've told you before, then it's obviously for a reason. Maybe whatever they're sharing was not addressed the last time. It will continue to come up, just like all lessons in life are going to come up until we get the message. So if you've heard something before, try not to cut someone off and say, you've already told me this, because that just diminishes that person's, it devalues. Imagine you're sharing something and someone says, I already know that. Well, thanks a lot. No, be there and fully listen to that person. And part of that is to allow them to repeat themselves. If it's being repeated, it's probably for a reason. Number 5, use ego language less. and I think part of being a listener is to not try to interject, to not try, if someone's asking you, what should I do? That's one thing. But be careful of ego language such as I would, you should, I think. When someone is sharing something about you, ultimately all of our information, the next answer we need is right where we are. Ultimately, we're going to have to make our own paths and our own decisions, and we can always seek others out for advice. But when you're in that role of a listener, if you're chirping up with a bunch of ego talk, try to be aware of that. Try to minimize that. They're coming to you to share something with you. Just listen. Try to interject and try to quit saying what you would do or especially what they should do. Be there and be supportive in listening, and try to influence less. Number 6, let the person finish talking every time that they're talking. I think our attention span in the U.S., probably most of the developed world, has gone from like 12 seconds down to 8 seconds. I can be scattered as anyone. Try to be more present and with eye contact and truly listening. That helps, but also be super careful to allow that person to finish the sentence, even if they're a rambler. I am one. Let the person speak. That's what being a listener is for. That's what being a friend is about. That's what showing someone you care. Probably the best way possible is to truly listen. When you cut someone off and silence them, it diminishes them and what and their opinion. And another suggestion that I've heard that's helpful too, if you ever find yourself in a heated conversation, and maybe your personalities tend to clash and you tend to talk over each other and cut each other off, a great idea is to get some kind of object to hold in your hand. And whoever has the object has the right to speak, and the other person doesn't speak. It's kind of a simple idea, but it's true and it works. And as long as you have that object, then you can't speak. If the other person tries to cut it off, you just show them the object. It helps us train ourselves to listen more. It makes us be more present, even just holding an object. But always, no matter what, allow someone to finish. If they're sharing something, it's important for a reason. Don't silence anyone. Don't cut them off. Number 7, and the last tip, to be a better listener, is less nonverbal, especially for important things. I cannot stress this enough. And I've truly had a couple of friendships that have kind of ended and disintegrated over a nonverbal communication. And I ask any friends, half the time I want to slam my phone on a wall because I feel like I'm constantly trying to explain myself on text. Oh, they misunderstood. Nonverbal communication, it's fantastic. It's great. Save nonverbal for menial shit. Hey, coming over, or don't get into important stuff on nonverbal because it is so often misinterpreted. And without inflection, without emotion, without the way we say things, you can say one thing out of your mouth and it means something. You can type and it can be perceived completely different. So try to be a better listener. Try, if you're getting into, if someone's wanting to share something and it's getting deep, maybe offer to pick up the phone. Call and talk about this. Some things I'd prefer to not do over nonverbal, because there's a lot of nonverbal communication, and I think the younger generation is going to struggle with that. They're so on nonverbal, like between texting and apps, and I mean we're all guilty of it. But just try to hold back on that to be a better listener. Don't just try to minimize nonverbal communication. That goes from when you're communicating as well. If it's something important, pick up the phone, meet up with the person. Try not to get too deep in the weeds on the nonverbal, because it can turn into a nightmare. So these are 7 things that I try to practice, that I work on daily, and I think we can all stand to be better listeners, and that really just shows that other person that you care and that you're listening. And everyone likes to be listened to. Everyone likes to be heard. All you have to do is shut your mouth. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So make time to listen. Try to be a better listener, and hopefully some of these helps. Happy New Week to everybody, and happy now, because you can't be happy yesterday and you can't be happy tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.